Okay. So there's the official recording. That way you'll have this later if you want to rewatch it. We'll also be able to share it with different districts and people if they're curious about what we've been working on. Welcome, I think Jamila, maybe? Or Jamila? She's coming in, she's getting connected. So let me give her a second.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, great, how are you?
Very well.
Okay, you're just in time. I just was giving the notice that we're recording. I'm Wheatley, welcome aboard. And this is also just the heads up on Zoom. If you don't already know it, there's the reactions option. There's the chat, which some of you have already learned how to use, which is great, or know how to use. And then if you're willing to share your camera, great. I know some people are not comfortable with that or just in settings that don't really work well with cameras, that's fine. Please do remember too, if you're not actively speaking, to mute your mic just so that we can cut down on background noise. Like in my house, we get a lot of dog noise in the background if I don't hit mute. So anyway, welcome everybody. Okay, so here are our outcomes for today. We have identify your key elements of student-centered instruction. So that's the really big focus, is looking at how can we make instruction student-centered. We're going to build some skills for transforming learning today, even though it seems like, how are we going to skill build in this, quick webinar or hopefully quick webinar. But we will be doing some skill building. We also experience learning activities related to the goal areas. So we'll talk more about those goal areas in just a second. And then you'll actually be setting goals. So part of the Dell Educator certification process is setting your own personal goal and then getting coached. You work with me as your coach, and we go through that process, and I help support you to achieve the goal that you set. And so it'll be interesting this summer because, for most of us, we're not necessarily in our buildings, but we're still gonna work on that and be able to show some growth throughout this process. So the only other thing I wanna add, I have an asterisk up there. The only other thing I want to add is that this session, it's intended to be about 2 hours long. It's a lot of information. Please just, take it in the best you can. If it's overwhelming, take a breath. Most people find that in the first coaching session with me, because you'll have a one-on-one session with me to get started, that's when they sort of ask some questions about, can I really do this? Does this seem like it's going to be too much? And people usually do okay. I've been a really successful coach. I've done a few cohorts of the same program. And I've helped in recent times. I coached a teacher who actually she had COVID at one point and made her way through this program. I had another teacher who was finishing a PhD at the same time. So we can be flexible and sort of work with whatever you're trying to come through and deal with to try and help you achieve your goal in this program. Okay, so our big thing is our driving question, which is how might we leverage technology to make learning increasingly student-centered in our classrooms? So the big part of Dell, people think of technology stuff, but Dell wants to see how can we take technology and use it in a way that's going to help students lead their own learning. And how can we do that in whatever setting we're working in or teaching in? So that is our driving question. All right, as we are getting started, also, I want you to consider the fact that this rights of the learner slide is to just sort of remind you that these are the rights of anybody in any learning situation, including you. So, today, this evening, and throughout this process, you are the learner. It's okay to be confused or make a mistake and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. If you need to speak or listen or be heard, it's totally a right of yours as well. And then also just to write or do or represent whatever makes sense. So as we're going through this, whatever seems to work best for you and your context, that's your right as a learner, which is a pretty nice thing to have. Okay, so we finally get to introduce ourselves. I know it's been a minute. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're actually gonna use a tool and see if this works. I know some of you are coming in from phones. So we're gonna try two things. I want you to think of one, what's a question that we could ask to get to know you? So don't tell us anything, but just give us a question. okay, that might help us get to know more about you. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing is, what do you love about your own teaching practice? And this could also be your, I know we have a media specialist. So, if there's something else in your practice, it doesn't have to be, what do you love about what you do? What do you do well? What is something you do well? So you get a second to brag about yourself. And there's only a few of us. We could do this out loud, but I wanted to also show you the to a Padlet if you don't have it. Do you guys want to do this out loud? Are we thinking?
I prefer to do it out loud.
Yeah, I know.
I agree out loud.
Okay, we're good with going out loud. Okay, great. Well, then we'll just do that. We'll just use our voices, which is great. Okay, so Usma, would you like to go first since you
Sure.
spoke up first? So do you have a question that we could ask you to get to know you?
So, so I have to tell a question about myself?
Yeah, like, so for me, if like a question you could ask me is like, what's your favorite sport? And I would tell you all about basketball or something. So like, is there something that we could ask you that you'd be able to tell us more about yourself?
I am passionate. I love to read.
Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so would you maybe so a question might be, what's your favorite book? Do you have a favorite book?
Well, I'll start long time back when I started, everyone Gone with the Wind, so, and, some from the past,
That's great. But, okay, so the older, more historical type fiction?
Yes, I love historical book, things to do with history.
Great. Do you have something you can share that you love about your librarian skills, like something you love about your ability?
I love for when I'm reading to the kids and they're reading with me, and it clicks to them that they're able to read when you're this younger, and they suddenly realize that, oh, they're reading right now, and the love of books, and like when I'm reading to them, and the way the eyes shine up with the favorite books.
That's great. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Let's Rosalind put in a question in the chat. She said, how many years have I been teaching is the question. So now I want to know, Rosalind, how many years have you been teaching? You're typing, so I'm just narrating for you. She said, I love the way I get involved with teachers. We dance and rap everything. That sounds fantastic. Okay, since 95. So you've been teaching, Rosalind's been teaching since 1995. And Rosalind raps and dances. Now I'm really sad that we can't hear her. That's fantastic. Okay, that's fun. All right, is it Jamila?
Yep, that's me.
All right. Okay, I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Jamila, what would be your question or your item about yourself?
Ask me about my technology.
Oh, okay. Oh. So yeah, what about your technology? That sounds interesting.
Believe it or not, I have pretty much my coworkers tell me, because one has actually, a few of them have been over my house before. She's like, does Google do everything in your house? And I was like, well, yeah, kind of. But he has a friend called Alexa, but they just don't talk to each other.
Okay, so you have everything like digitized in your house?
I'm working on almost everything, but yes, pretty much lights, the kitchen appliances, the TVs, the doors, the speakers. Yeah, pretty much the vacuum cleaner. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, you have like the they used to say Bill Gates's house was like you'd walk into the room and the art would change based on who you are. It sounds like
I remember that I forgot what movie that was on, but yeah, you can actually come in and it would actually create whatever it was that was personalized to you. I would like to see if I can get that.
That's amazing.
Wow. That's my goal.
That's beyond even my level of digitization. Do you have something that you love about your teaching or about your educational practice?
Yes, I actually do. I am actually a digital literacy coach. I mean, not literacy, but digital learning specialist, which pretty much we coach anyway. What I actually love, my background is actually special education. So I think I take that into every training that I actually provide. And that seems to get a lot of teachers that migrate back to me, because I teach at a level where I'm gonna wait for everybody. I'm gonna give you the wait time. I'm gonna make sure everybody understands it. And I'm always looking for that feedback, because I want them to actually make sure that they're internalizing what I'm doing. So I try to make sure that I'm actually gearing what I'm actually providing to the audience that I'm actually servicing.
That's great. Yeah, those special ed skills are huge. Like you said, across the board, it doesn't matter who the learner is, everybody can benefit from that, definitely. Yeah, that's great. Well, how fun. Okay, well, we have a good little mix of our team here, and there may be more people jumping in, so we'll just kind of keep rolling with things, but welcome, and it's good to meet all of you ladies. I'm super happy to work with you. Again, my first name is Wheatley. And it is my first name. It was the last name in my family that my mom liked. So anyway, so I'm glad to be with all of you. Okay, so we're going to kick it off with inspiration. Okay, so the why are we here and what are we going to do with what we're doing here? So the beginning of this is asking you to do a couple things. Okay, we're looking at how technology can help us create meaningful, authentic learning experiences. So, and I think it sounds like you all have some great experience and input and insights. So the first thing we're going to do is sort of start with like the negative side of things and share anything that you can think of that were ineffective uses of technology that you've seen in education. It could be, and it doesn't need to have any names attached, right? It could be something that happened in your own room or someone else's or something you saw. But is there any time that you've seen sort of an ineffective use of technology that happened within an educational setting? And we can just share out loud.
I can definitely tell you one, and it's more or less a scenario type instead of a actual technology piece. It's the lack of digital citizenship instruction.
Oh, okay. And all right. So lack of digital citizenship instruction. Yeah, sure. So, okay. So that helps so you've seen just in general, like the lack of knowledge around being a good digital citizen. Is that fair?
Definitely yes, because my teachers don't seem to understand the true reason for teaching it. So they skim over it, it's at the beginning of the year. Okay, I covered it, let's move on. And then issues start to occur during the year because the kids have now all this technology at their fingertips and they're exploring areas that they've never had access to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's trying to make them understand digital literacy and digital citizenship tie hand in hand. But I need you to actually continue that instruction, every day. Every time you get ready to touch a new tool, tell them how important it is to actually be safe online, about not using other people's passwords. It's just simple things, how their digital footprint lives on forever.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, that's a really good, like broad, ineffective, it says use of technology, but it's an ineffective strategy really, right? With technology that people just aren't as aware as they could be with digital citizenship. And Rosalind, if you want to type one in the chat, you can, or Usma, do you have anything that you've seen that was an ineffective use of technology or?
Yeah, personally, I mean, I am really wanting to myself learn a lot about technology. Right now, I'm sitting in Dubai because I'm visiting and it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, but but I'm wanting to learn as much so I can teach my students and be more interactive with the students, with the teachers. Any way I can help anyone, that's what my main thing is. And I'm signing up for everything, and because of the timings, I just want to learn and be more productive towards teachers, towards students, towards anyone I can help with, So
that's great. Those are great goals. All right. Rosalind says she agrees with both. So Rosalind has similar goals, it sounds like, with trying to learn more about all the technology, as Usma says, and sort of signing up for everything. But then also that lack of experience people have with digital citizenship and the inability that happens sometimes with teachers not really passing on those skills to students. So that makes sense. Okay, so here's the other half of that, right? So what are the effective uses of technology that you've witnessed? What are some things that people have done? Usma, I would throw out the fact that using a cell phone to try and log into a seminar from another country in the middle of the night for your time is pretty effective if you're trying to learn and gain. It's probably
yeah. While I'm talking, I'm also trying on my and I've mostly had Dell computers, and my son got me an Apple, and I mean,
yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
So I'm having real difficulty. I'm still trying to log in, and I'm not able to
okay.
log in.
You can learn. It'll come in time. Jamila, anything from you for effective things? Have you seen, especially in your role, I bet you probably see a mix of things for sure, but has anyone done anything effective that you've been impressed with?
With this year and us going completely digital, and the fact that our teachers were always reluctant to, integrate the technology, I can say just the use of the digital tool to actually engage with our students, from things like Flipgrid to, we've done things to actually give them Nearpod access. So it was just really the effective pieces that they were able to utilize to get the students engaged and communicating.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm really glad to hear it. It's always good to hear it and to see it in classrooms when things are working, right? And things are going right.
Yeah, in fact, my storytelling also, like I used technology during the time when we had we were doing, online classes, and that's and to get them involved and, interested in it, using a lot of technology and doing artwork and anything related to that story, was trying to do that through technology, so.
That's good. Yeah. I think a lot of people were thrown into using technology more than often, of course, and there were some success stories that came out of that. So that's good. Okay, here's a quote for you, and I'm not sure how well you can read it because it's sort of long, but let me give you a second to read it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, with reading, like when you're trying to engage students into reading, I've noticed that some kids are into reading, but I feel they're more into technology. So kids are more into computers, and also one is trying very hard to get them interested in reading, whether it's technology via, reading and, different ways of catching the interest, because, I've tried Bitmojis and different ways, at least, any way they can read, so, like, kids are into more, how they're into games and all, cartoons and stuff like that, though I personally am not so fond of it, but, but the kids, anything to get the interest,
No, that's great. Yeah, I like how you've put that in your own context. So essentially, you know, if your efforts to help them read are being enhanced by doing it in a way that is important to them, doing something that matters to them, or something they're interested in, giving them that context. And really that's what, you know, this quote hits on, is just the student part. Like you can do all these things, but if the students aren't interested, or it's not something that they really want to learn, or they don't want to do, it makes it difficult. So we're looking at more student driven and student directed learning, and how to get to that point where students sort of drive their own learning, and we can support that. Okay, so this is the first thing that is going to require you to click. And so I'm going to have to give you the, let me get to the chat. I'm going to give you the slides and see if you can get into these. So I just put in the chat a link to this whole slide deck, so that way you can kind of follow on your own. But this should help. Okay, Rosalind, all right. But so this should help you to be able to do some of these activities, because you can click on the links in the slides if you can open the presentation.
So this is only view only, yeah?
Yeah, which it should be fine. You just need to view, and then you can click on the links still if you click through the slide. So this is slide 15, I believe. If you just skipping ahead. Yeah,
I just want to let you know, I'm actually driving back to my home. I had to pick up my daughter from swimming practice. So I will actually be participating with that portion once I get there, which will only be about 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, nope, good to know. All right, and Rosalind's got a computer that's not working totally correctly, so she's sort of in and out. Rosalind, I know you're in the chat. Were you able to open the slides at all? What I can do too is I can guide you. I can guide all of you through this. It's just obviously if you're driving, you probably won't be able to see it that well, but that's okay. We won't risk your driving. Okay, so Rosalind got in. So yeah, so let me do this. So we're gonna do a couple different things.
So what do you want us to do with the Jamboard?
Yeah, let me just stop sharing for a second and come back out of here for a moment. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the tip chart. So it just says tip chart in the middle of the slide.
Yeah.
And if you click there, it should take you, and I'm going to jump back in here.
It's taking me to Chrome. Yeah. So should I open it in Chrome or Safari?
Let's see.
Let me try with Chrome.
It should take you. Yep. If you're in Chrome, that should be okay.
So, okay. So it says research and information fluency, communication and collaboration. Is that it?
Yep. Yep. That's it. So the tip chart is the sort of the main home of, just a second. Let me get back to my. The tip chart is what we're going to use for your goal setting. So through Dell, what they do is they have you choose one of those areas. So there's and we're going to go through each one. So if you're not able to look at the actual chart right now, it's okay. We can walk through it another time. But this is just to give you the full scope of things. And for some reason, my windows are not working. But yes. So
is there a way I can, because I'm on the phone, can I send it to my Google or?
If you, are you looking, it sounded like you were already looking in Chrome so you could see it, the tip chart?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I can see it, but I want to save it.
So it'll be, so yeah, and I will send you you're going to get the links. So you'll have all these links as well. So.
Oh, okay, great. So I don't need to.
Yeah. So I'm back in here and I'm just going to sort of show this screen in case people are still, if anyone's able to look. So the tip chart is what we would be doing with this right now is I would have you go through and do something called a notice and a wonder. And so I've also created a Jamboard, but right now with people's technology situations, it's a little tricky. So the whole point of the notice wonder protocol is just that you look at something like this chart, and then you share things that you notice or things that you wonder. So anything that you see that jumps out, you could mention it as a notice. like, for example, Usma, you said, I noticed the headings, right? You saw the research and information fluency heading and communication and collaboration. And so is there anything else that anybody's seeing that you're noticing or that you're wondering about? And we would, like I said, the goal is to use Jamboard and have you sort of put your notices and wonders on there in little Post-its, but it's a lot easier if everyone were on like their own computer and could do it that way. So we're just going to do this verbally, which is fine. So.
And will it be fine if we actually go back later and actually drop that into Jamboard?
Yeah, if you'd like and you want to try the whole activity out, then absolutely, yeah. I just am right now. I'm not going to do it since Usma's on her phone. Rosalind's computer's giving her some headaches, and I know you're driving, so that'd be tricky. So yeah, but so anyway, the point is just to look at the chart. So and for people who can't see, it's this chart has multiple categories to it. Okay, so there's research and information fluency. There's communication and collaboration. And again, you'll see these and we'll go through them in more detail again. There's critical thinking and problem solving. And then there's creativity and innovation. So the tip chart has 4 main categories. And within each category are these different signs of progression to show your progress. So for example, if you are working on the communication and collaboration area as a goal, then there's skills for the teacher and skills for the student. And then in each one of those sets, you can kind of see like, am I doing something in my classroom that's more student-centered? Where students are leading their own work, which is a good thing, or am I doing things that are more teacher-centered? So like for communication collaboration, if a teacher is always, it says providing information and assignment expectation. So the teacher's always giving the information and all the information generally comes from the teacher. Then that communication is very teacher-centered. If you are getting the students in the class to the point where it's more student-centered, then you have things like students are selecting appropriate digital tools to communicate and collaborate with their peers. So it's showing a difference in how the class is run, sort of based on this chart sort of gives you a flow chart back and forth of like different tasks and where they might fall as far as being teacher-centered or student-driven. But that's the idea. So it's called a tip chart. It's teacher innovation progression. It's a really amazing chart that is intended to help people reflect on their practice and then sort of help them also progress to new levels of learning and student-centered work. So, Jamila, in the work that you do, this would be something that you could use as a tool with your teachers to sort of help them maybe reflect on where they are now and where they might want to head, especially with the digital literacy component or digital citizenship work. But it's something that we're going to use. This is our tool, our basis for the work that we're going to do for the Dell certification. Any wonders or any questions right now? Just again, this is a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of information, the whole big chart, but we're kind of going to piece through it as we go. I just wanted to give you a quick overview. Any questions, anybody?
It'd be good to print it out and have it
yes.
Follow it, yeah?
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of thing that's nice to have as a printout, and you can definitely do that from here. And like I said, I'll give you the link. You'll have the link to the slides again, so you can pull anything that you'd like and print things or look at them again if you'd like. Plus the video, I'll share the video so people will have that. Okay, so we're gonna skip the Jamboard, and now this activity is sort of fun. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're looking at design. So looking at now we're moving into how can we integrate technology in innovative ways that will serve our students, okay? And what are some things that we could use or design and use sort of creative elements. So the first section of the tip chart that is being mentioned is creativity and innovation. So this is one of those big categories. And this activity I'm going to share with you is something that would be a great example of something that would come in that area, okay, the creativity and innovation. And And again, I know the participation is going to be a little tricky with devices right now, which is okay. But I just want to show you, because we can do this too, just with the visual as well. So you get the idea. So this first thing that is a challenge, it's called 4-icon challenge. Has anyone heard of it before by any chance, or seen it? It is not yet. So 4-icon challenge, what you're going to do, or what you would do, is you think about, you re-examine some of your favorite stories, and by stories, it could be a book, it could be a movie, a show, it could be anything that you think other people might recognize in your expression as you're trying to creatively express it. So you're going to think about a story, okay, one of your favorite stories, one of your favorite movies or tales of some kind. And then you're going to try to retell the story, but you can only use 4 icons in your story, okay? I'm going to show you some examples so that you can see this. But you're going to tell the story of whatever movie or show or book with just 4 icons. And then what we would do is we would put these on Google Slides, so that way everyone has their own slide with their own 4 icons, and people can click through them and kind of look and try and guess what the stories are that are being shared. Okay, so let me show you an example, because it helps once you get some visuals. So here's the first example.
So do we minimize and go back to you?
Can you see it? Yeah. Either that, or you can click through your slides. If you're on your slides, you can click along.
Okay, now
if you're back, you see it? You're back to me. And Rosalind, I don't know if you can see it, but if you see these 4 icons, the question is, what movie, or this is a movie, which movie do these 4 icons come from? What is this? What is this story? Do you know? So if you can't see right now, there is a nun with mountains behind her. It's like a piece of cloth with like some overalls or something cut out on it, a guitar, and then a whistle with a Nazi symbol on it. Anybody have a guess?
Sorry, Sound of Music?
Yes, very good. So
I was speaking, but I was muted. I didn't realize.
You got it. Yeah. So it was, so what's fun is that if you look at the icons, okay, Rosalind said, I can see it or can't see it. You can see it. So the Sound of Music was that one, which is good. Good job. Okay, here's another one. We got another one. This one is a book and a movie.
I think I'm going to be the worst person at this game.
Explorer.
There's okay, I'll say it out loud. I'll say it out. Yeah.
I know that movie, but
Sorry,
it's not.
It's okay. There's a light bulb. There is
it The Great Gatsby?
Yes.
Yes. Did
you just guess that?
Good job.
That was really good. Okay.
No, I still don't have the slides up yet. So I did not think.
I said light bulb and she knew it. Okay, here's the next one. I'll say these out loud too, the best I can. So here's the next one. There is a pipe. There is a sword. There's a ring, like a gold ring, and a
the Lord of the Rings
mountain. Yes, good. You got it.
Okay, I guess I'm not as bad as I thought I was.
Yeah, see, so not bad at all. So that's the 4-icon challenge. And it's a fun activity to do. It's great, like at the beginning of the year, or just even like if you're trying to get people like icebreaker stuff, you can have them team up and come up with these together. And, there was one where I was working with some teachers and they had like this really cute little icon couple, and then they had a little heart, And then all of a sudden there was a ship and there was an iceberg. And I was like, oh no, Titanic. But they, but it's sort of fun, and it's fun to see, how you can challenge yourself to be creative and express a whole story in just four simple images. So that's sort of a fun way to do it. So anyway, so we didn't get to put them on slides, but the question then with this activity is, where would it fall in the tip chart? And again, this isn't a great question because you don't have the tip chart in front of you, but it would fall into that creativity and innovation, right? And looking at how can students then express themselves in a creative way and sort of, share or relate something. If they, let's say they read a novel in class, could they then figure out 4 icons to express that novel and the key points? So the question is, and for all of you, this is a varied question right now, but it says, how did technology improve this activity? How do you think technology could improve a creativity action? Something like if you give someone a task, how can technology help people be creative?
So it's easier to find whatever you're looking for, like on your computer, find all these different icons for them to see and get them interested in. And because of the technology, whether they're in classroom or face-to-face or virtual, you can give them these icons and via technology, and they can start guessing or can plan something themselves. You can give them some hints to do.
Sure. They can be a little more independent if, they have a set of icons to work with. The other thing I found with some teachers or students is just that sometimes they don't like to draw, or they get embarrassed about their artistic skills. So when they can pull icons and things and resources from a digital place, it makes them a little more comfortable with trying to be expressive and creative. So yeah, that would work. Okay.
So would you recommend to kind of have a bank of icons set up for them to use, or just to let them actually go and choose icons from websites or anything that they can actually select from?
That's a great question. I think it would depend on your students or your group, right? So for some people, like the first time I did this, somebody gave me a preset, like use this website that had icons on it. And that was helpful, because then I could just sort of pull from there without having to worry about searching and figuring out where I could find them. So if you have students or, teachers where maybe you're trying to teach them some search skills in terms of, finding things on their own and finding things that they could use in their classroom, then that may be a process additionally to share and show them how to find like the best icons or the things that are easily fair use that they could be accessing. But no, I think for convenience and for time's sake, it does definitely help to just say, hey, here's a link, or hey, here's a preset. They even make, I don't know if you've ever used Slides Carnival, but part of Slides Carnival's design templates is they give you just a slide that has a bunch of tiny icons, and you can kind of pull and just copy and paste them. So something like that could really work. But yeah, that's a great question, especially knowing people's different skill levels and comfort levels with just, being let loose on the internet and finding things on their own. So great question. Okay, are we ready for communication and collaboration? Any last thoughts about the 4-icon challenge?
Love it. I think it's a really good way to communicate and have that. It's like a charade kind of a thing. So getting kids involved and interested in technology, and, and they are interested in technology. So, it's a good way to communicate. And like you said, that you know, it's a nice icebreaker, you know, for the
yeah, it can be
students.
fun. It can definitely be fun. Or like if you're doing like a, you know, pick your favorite book or your favorite story, it can tie into the reading skills that you're trying to emphasize. So yeah. Okay, so communication and collaboration. This particular activity is reading with a link. So I don't know. Again, Jamila, I know you're in transit. So let's see. So for this communication and collaboration, the goal was to read the article, and the article's title is Why Student Collaboration is More Effective with Technology. And then we are going to use Jamboard again, Jamboard, which is a nice, easy Google tool. I think it's really straightforward. What's that? Oh, I thought there's a comment.
It's just straightforward.
Yeah. So just the Jamboard is something that's pretty easy to use. And I can show you the Jamboard on my screen just so that you can see what it looked like. So this protocol is that you give whomever your audience is, students, teachers, whomever your learners are, you give them an article and have them read. And while they're reading, they are following something called the word, phrase, sentence protocol. So word, phrase, sentence protocol came from Harvard's Project Zero. And that is a group that they that came together to try and come up with thinking routines is what they're called. And their different thinking routines are always nice and simple, and they're different things to help learners show what they're thinking and sort of experience that metacognition where you can walk through like, here's my thought, here's my next thought, here's why I'm thinking what I'm thinking. So the word, phrase, sentence protocol is, again, you use it with a text. It could be an article, it could be an excerpt from a book or whatever. And then you have your people share. First, they start with the word, or if depending on how you have them set it up. This is on our Jamboard. So the first thing they share is what's a word that stuck out to you. So they read the article and they look for a word. And then the second thing they look for is a phrase. And the phrase is something that says, what's a phrase that's moved, engaged, or provoked you? So what's something that caught you, you know, to encourage you in some way or engage you, or something that sort of ticked to your brain and now you're thinking about it, a phrase. And then the third thing then is the sentence. So the sentence is, what's a sentence that's meaningful to you or that you think has captured the core of the text. So this is a really nice way to get people to read and engage with the words they're reading, but to just pick out those small things, one word, one phrase, and one sentence, and then share them. And then as a group or as a class, you can come together afterwards and sort of share those things and see what's in common. Did people come up with the same word? Did people come up with similar phrases or find the same sentence? And it sort of just helps you really engage with the text in a more active way. So in this case, it would allow them to collaborate and communicate about the text itself. So the text is this article, and again, there's a link. So I know that this is tricky, but it's a good article, and it is about student collaboration and why technology can really help encourage student collaboration. Since we can't really pull up the article easily, what are some ways that you think technology can help make student collaboration more effective? What are some things that, or even adult, like teacher collaboration, how can we collaborate better with tech? I know there's stuff that we don't like, but is there anything you can think of that would make it helpful?
Well, I can definitely say and it's not just Google based, but the Microsoft tools or the Google tools where they can actually be on a document together to actually create lesson plans or to actually plot out activities for their students to actually utilize. That way they're not creating things in isolation anymore. They're collaborating with a group of teachers that all teach the same grade level.
Absolutely. So, yes. Yeah. And that I love Google. I love that you used a Google example too. But yeah, absolutely. Being able to jump on the same document together or work on something at the same time, even if they're in different spaces, that's huge. Absolutely. I also saw during this past school year, that technology allowed students where we had, there were homebound students or students who were still home for COVID purposes, and then students in the building, and they were able to still team up on projects through Google, using Google Docs to team up and collaborate. So that whole notion of sort of like pulling students together across boundaries, whether it's physical boundaries or things like that, definitely can be helpful. Do you want me to show you the Jamboard we were going to use just to see it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so here's Jamboard. And Jamboard is real simple. It looks like a slide. Like it looks like Google Slides to me, except it just has these really simple on the left. I'm moving my mouse over here, but it has these really simple tools that you can use to add to this big like piece of paper basically, right? So it's like a big slide and people can do, so for example, this word like collaboration, I'm typing this on a sticky note and I can make it whatever color, and then I can save it. And then it shows up on the board like this, and I can make it bigger or smaller. I can move it around somewhere else. So this is kind of a fun way to get students to share their thinking. And this one is it's the prompt of what's a word that stuck out to you. But it gives them that chance to sort of share and put their thinking on a public board that the whole class can see. And you can sort of, and it also helps the teacher because you can see the board and you can see what everyone's adding. And so then that way you can add pictures, they can add text if they just want to add words. But it's very simplified. So Jamboard's it's not quite as, it doesn't have as many options as slides or things like that. But each slide, what I did was I just put the prompt at the top of the slide. So here's what's a phrase that moved you? And again, someone could add, this is their phrase, and add it to the board and then move it wherever they want. So it's
I had a question. So in a Jamboard, like a class can all work on it on the same?
Yeah, so just like, so I gave you the link to it. So if I made the link so that people could edit, you can give it to as many people as you'd like. And then you can get, I think it's 25 people limited on Jamboard right now, but like, so if you have a class of 25 or smaller, but yeah, so you can have multiple people sticking Post-its or putting their thoughts at the same time.
Great.
It can be chaotic, and I don't know, Jamila, if you have experience with that.
I was gonna say one thing that you can do when you're actually doing it, because most of the time we don't have all the kids on one document at one time. Jamboard does allow you to have multiple actual documents. So you can actually assign the kids to a different page. So maybe they actually all will work on every one of the pages that you've actually created. But for now, they're going to start on one particular page and then you can swap them to the next page.
Right.
So you can title each page.
Yeah. Okay. And it helps if they have their own page, because otherwise sometimes they'll start moving each other's stuff around or changing words. So again, it depends on the groups that you're working with and who it is that you have involved. But yeah, so, and I think even Jamboard's added some new features recently that were school related to make collaboration better for students on there. So, so that's true too. Okay, so that's the Jamboard, just so that you've seen it. Let me continue here with, okay, so it says, again, where would this fall in the tip chart? And I'm just going to sort of say it's communication and collaboration. Having students communicate around this article and collaborate on the Jamboard, or using something like Jamboard where they can share their thoughts. What do you think about either how could technology improve that activity, or how did it improve that activity, or how could you modify it for your own classroom or your own setting? Is there something with articles or that word, phrase, sentence protocol that might be useful for either of you in your settings? Any of you?
I want to say this is definitely useful. and always thinking about my special ed students, because they're going to be ones that are not going to communicate.
Yeah.
And even for my ELL learners,
Mm-hmm.
they'll listen to everybody else, but they won't actually just speak out. So now you've given them a way to actually have a voice and participate without having to verbalize.
Absolutely. Yeah. And something simple, saying, here's an article, but can you find a word, is different than, here, can you write a whole summary right now, you know? So absolutely. Yeah. The ELL students definitely can benefit from, like you said, just even having technology at their disposal with, depending on if they use translators or not, you know, any of those services that do that, but being able to sort of make things into a smaller package for people who are still trying to like master the language as it is. Absolutely. And just so you know, on that read the word, phrase, sentence protocol, there's a link in the comments of the slide. So if you're trying to find it later, there is a link there for it. But that Harvard Project Zero, if you look it up, there's a whole slew of really cool things like that, where they make stuff really simplified and help the students sort of walk through things as they go. So absolutely. Okay, so our next section is critical thinking and problem solving. So we've gone through the other two categories so far. And this next one is critical thinking and problem solving, which I don't think either of you are going to be able to dive into, but I'm going to show you anyway, and we'll just sort of see how it goes. So, so we have the first thing here, we have Scratch Test Drive. Okay, so, and I'm looking at this as, this would be a really fun opportunity to just sort of play and explore and sort of test your thinking and see if you can problem solve a little bit. Have any of you used Scratch, or are you familiar with Scratch? This little cat is their logo. That's why he's here.
No, madam.
No, okay. And there's no reason necessarily that you'd know Scratch. So Scratch is a program
For coding.
You know it. Oh, she does know. Okay.
We actually use Scratch and Scratch Junior. I actually, kind of support one of my program directors that actually does the STEM. And that's actually something I've done with my students before, is the robotics and STEM. Yes, Scratch is wonderful. It's definitely something that's great.
It is great. It's something though that if you've never seen it, you've got to see it. It's fun to see, but it's definitely one of those things that you look at and go, okay, what am I supposed to do now? If you don't know much about how it works or the coding that works with it. And Rosalind, I know you said you haven't seen it either. So I'm just going to show you, instead of having everybody click on it, I'll sort of show you from here, but I made a little test drive, and all I did was I just linked to the website on this cat. So if you click on the cat, it will take you to the Scratch website, but I will show you just, and we'll just sort of go through from my end, okay? So if you go to the Scratch website, there's a little button on the left that says Start Creating, okay? So I am going to click the Start Creating button, but please notice first that this little headline says create stories, games, and animations and share with others around the world. So Scratch was actually created by an organization that's linked to MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, to help teach kids how to code and do coding, like computer coding. So when I click Start Creating, it gives me, boom, I'm in the start of a project. Okay, and so what you can see on my screen is the setup that they use to help kids get rolling with doing some basic coding skills. So on the left, are these different steps or different pieces of code that I could use to make this cat over here on the right move or do things, okay? So as a student, or even, as an adult, it's fun to play around and click around. That's, I was hoping you'd get a chance to do that. But so I'm going to drag for motion, there's a move 10 steps, and I'm going to put that in the middle. And if I do that, I can click on it and you can actually see my cat moves 10 steps. He just kind of like slides to the side. Then I could make him do something else like turn, and I have to attach it here if I want him to do it all together. So let's see, I'm dragging him back. So I can make him do this, right? So now I have him moving and turning 15 degrees. But it's a really fun thing. And so the way that Scratch is built is very smart and intuitive. You just sort of start dragging and looking and dropping, and there's different keys over here that by different color, you can do sounds and add sound animations. You can do different events. But it's just a way to get kids interested and curious and start critically thinking about, like, how do I get this cat to move and how do I get him to do anything? And this little tutorial video, they've buried it nicely just right here. And it's very simple. If you hit play, it sort of just shows you the basics of what to do and how to start working with this tool. Because it's a lot if you just saw this and this screen was open, but if you were just told to, like, hey, click around and figure it out and see what you can do, it's powerful. And Jamila can probably testify as far as like the game. Kids can make games, kids can make whole programs, they can change the characters in and out, they can make all sorts of interactives, and you can actually look at projects that students have made all over the world using Scratch and some of the different things that they've come up with. So
yeah, we just had our coding club in May, where it was actually geared for all levels. So we had kids from pre-K all the way to 12th grade, and our primary students and our elementary, some of them use Scratch and Scratch Junior, and they actually created little games. Some of them actually created big games, and it was just like, wow. It's amazing if you actually just give them the tool, tell them, expectations, what they can actually do with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you said, it's amazing what they can do. It is when you give students the right tools, or when you have the right tools as the instructor or the support person, like, it's amazing what people can do with it when they're given those tools to go. So awesome. So that's Scratch. So that was supposed to be your little chance to do some programming here. Again, this activity on the tip chart would fall into that critical thinking and problem solving section. And like Jamila said, students could do this on their own. So it would be something that could even be student directed. If you give them the tool, they can actually run with it and do so safely. So that's a good thing. So the question about how could you modify this for your classroom is here, or also how did technology improve this activity? I will say that I'm trying to think. When I was a kid, I feel like we could only make like board games for school. You had to like make it out of cardboard, and you had to sort of make the different pieces and come up with the rules. And by adding that technology piece, these kids are making video games and really learning programming skills that they could apply to web design or any sort of thing like that. Any other thoughts on Scratch?
And believe it or not, we had, and I know they used another platform besides Scratch because they went on to the next level, but we had a group of middle school girls that actually created an app that they started when they were in elementary school in Scratch, that they then developed, and they actually made it for helping kids get over the body image and the negativity and the bullying.
Wow, that's amazing. There's so many cool levels to that. So they built it like over time, and they chose to do body image and health wellness. That's fantastic. Wow, how cool. Now, is your school like a technical digital school?
No, we're actually not. We just have some campuses that do have magnet programs, but then we have a Girls Who Code club that we actually open up to the whole district, and we just have to have a teacher that's on the campus that's willing to stay with them after school to kind of supervise.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much the kids run it.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, that's really what this is like. Ideally, things like this are about, is that, Dell wants to see that and wants to see students that are leading the way and sort of taking the ideas and the tools and sort of running with it in a positive direction. So that's fantastic. So we have one last category to hit from the tip chart, and that is the research and information fluency. This one, to be honest, for most people is a tricky goal to choose. It's a tricky goal area usually, just because sometimes it can be hard depending on the age of your students or who you're working with, to coach them through that. But I've seen people do it successfully. So I am going to show you, actually this part should work easily for everybody. This is a video, it's a lesson. So we're going to watch it's a 3-minute video of a sample lesson. It's about dolphin stranding, which is an interesting topic. I had to like think for a moment about what that is, but it's dolphins on the beach when they're stuck or they're beached. And so this teacher is going to explain her lesson and all the pieces that went into it. And so this is a pretty elaborate lesson, but I want you to listen for a few things. So listen for sort of what skills and resources are being used in the lesson. And then also what kinds of things, notice the students and the teachers. So like, what are the students doing as they're learning, and what does that look like? And then what are teachers doing? So like, what does the teaching and the learning look like? And what's being used, what kind of resources and skills? So here I'll just pull up the video. I'll make it full screen for us. And here we go. There's no sound yet.
Today in my 4th grade class, we participated in a simulation of a dolphin stranding in order to teach the children what would happen if they were on part of a stranding team and they would actually go out to rescue the dolphins. In preparation for this activity, we had a person who had participated in the dolphin encounter in Bermuda, and she came and talked to the children about dolphins in general. This morning, before the activity, the children did some preliminary research on prearranged websites and started to get an idea about dolphins in general. So when the principal, who was Amelia Earhart, came in and came through a video conference and called in a stranding report. We used the exact same forms the stranding team would use. The children then went upstairs to where we had simulated the dolphin stranding and completed the stranding worksheet that the dolphin stranding team would use. They did measurements, they did external observations. They also learned how to very carefully move the dolphins from the stranding site to the lab. Once we came back to the classroom, which was our Echo Lake Lab A, the children performed a necropsy on the dolphins with simulation of parasites that could be found in the lungs, stomach contents, external observations of parasites, etc. And they wrote these all down on their stranding sheet. And at this point, they're going to do independent research, participate in cooperative learning discussions and Socratic seminars to come up with what they think killed the dolphin, which is an open-ended problem-based learning situation. Today, we use several types of technology to support this simulation. Technology is part of our 21st century skills that is very important to us to teach the children how to use and how to use correctly in order to solve problem-based learning activities such as the dolphin stranding. The resource teacher, the instructional resource teacher, Mrs. Del Monte, has set up a wiki board in which she has already put several predetermined sites for the children with lessons that they will walk through individually and with me as a group. We also use video conferencing in order to have the videos of the stranding team report come in. We had 5th graders who acted as television reporters who taped it for us so that they use the skills that an actual television reporter would do, or a stranding team will go back and look at the video as we determine the causes to see if there's anything we may have missed in our observations. The children now are working individually on portable laptops. Next week, we will probably put this into centers where a group will work with me while a group continues research in the wiki board on a center-based computer skill. The children, one of their choices to present their information will be a keynote presentation where they may import pictures from the actual stranding as they present their findings in their pathology report.
Okay. All right. So what are you thinking? What did you notice? What did you see?
It was like its involvement from different aspects, you know, like all kind of students being involved, teachers being involved, you know, from technology to library to, you know, students using math. It's like stream, you know, doing all the different aspects of stream being used.
Yeah, great. And there were a lot of people involved, right? Like you said, there was like a technology specialist, someone with, you know, media specialist. There was the regular teacher, the principal made a video. He had fifth graders come back to the fourth graders, and the fifth graders were doing videotaping. Yeah, so there were a lot of different people involved for sure.
And technology and
the technology, right? What did you notice anything about the research or the way the students were allowed to research? Did you catch what they said about which resources they used? So one of the things that they mentioned and it's quick, but they said that there's a wiki, which this is actually an old video. This video is it's 11 years old, but it's, you know, the lesson itself is still powerful, but the media specialist teacher made a site so it just had pre-selected sites on it that the students could use for research. So they could only go to those sites so that they weren't just searching at random through Google, but they actually were limited to, here's your preset, you know, list of sites, and then they went from there to do their research. Yeah, did you notice, you know, did it look like the teachers were just like, how were they teaching? What were they doing?
They were teaching, but still they took a back seat and let the students do the research, do that, you know.
Yeah, perfect. Sorry. No, that's great. No, that was perfect. So they took a back seat. So that
they became facilitators.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They were facilitators. They were riding in the back seat. They were, you know, they were kind of there for the ride, but they were also, they helped it happen for sure. But they weren't the ones that were doing the main action. You saw students doing things and digging through, I guess, dolphin guts or whatever that was supposed to be, you know, and going through all the evidence and researching and sitting at the computers, and the teachers were there, but they were not doing the work for them, and they weren't just feeding it to them. And so those things are really powerful. So great. So again, this lesson is part of, like, it would be an example of a research and information fluency skill, having these students, these fourth graders, do this online research around dolphins, and then, you know, building the rest of their lesson from there too. But how would you say technology could, how did it improve this activity?
It gave them the real interactive experience, because they were actually being able to really engage with, for one, the people that have actually experienced that, to go in and do the research. And it wasn't just pulling the book off a shelf. They could actually see what was going on and how to actually research and how to actually do all of this tests and all the paperwork and everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great. Yeah, it let them have that real hands-on experience, you know, that they wouldn't have maybe had otherwise with that research and diving into that story. Great. Is there anything from this that might inspire you with your own learners, with your own groups?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at this activity now. And not just with a science lab, but even just making this something that, you know, we can actually do a campus-wide type of thing. So even if you go from like the lower level of introducing it, and it actually builds all the way up to fifth grade.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, right. That's great. I thought it was great that they even included the fifth graders, but how cool. Yeah, like if you started the project to some degree and then kind of it built over time. Is that what you're saying? Like,
it's like,
yeah, so I think everybody should go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Like we did a project on COVID, in where we used technology, we used science, we used math, we used all different aspects. And then they had to build, how the germ looked like. And, so it was like they did a whole research on building it. So all different kind of students were involved in it. So one student took part in one aspect, the other, different aspects, and then they got together and collaborated and did a whole research, so
wow,
on COVID, so
yeah. So it's sort of that investigation of that includes multiple things, multiple fields, which is great. Jamila, were you going to say something else?
I was listening. I think I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay. No, you were talking about the multiple grade levels, and you were thinking about something that would go.
Yeah, just so that my thing is, even if you started it so that it was actually specific to their curriculum at each grade level, and it was actually an activity that built up for the grade level, because literally they explore different things at each grade level. So that way you can actually still have that as one of the activities that they do, to actually get them integrated into a hands-on activity that then maybe they can all have a collaborative piece about.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. It's always neat when students get to sort of cross across grades too, with different collaboration that way, because I feel like for some reason, we keep them in these little grade groups, but in real life, they're going to work with people of all different ages and backgrounds at the same time. So that's great. Okay, any last thoughts on the dolphin lesson? Not yet, no. Okay, so we're sort of moving towards the last phase of things, and this is where more of the Dell business comes in, okay? But we're looking at empowering, and how can we empower you, and how can we empower your students and your learners? And so here's a quote. Whoops. And I'll just read it too, but it says, saying that the lack of devices or 21st century tools is the problem to be solved keeps the focus on the technology for technology's sake and is a circular reference. The problem or goal must instead be rooted in improving educational effectiveness by such means as boosting student outcomes or opportunities, doing more with less, or improving the ability of teachers to do their jobs. So when we start looking, we're starting to move towards the goal setting session of this webinar. So as we're doing that, we want to consider the fact that, the goal isn't just saying, hey, I want to use Google, or hey, I want to use technology because it's cool or it could be useful for my kids. It's looking at how can we improve overall your educational effectiveness, and how can we boost your ability to do your job. And so that's really where we are, and that's what Dell believes in. So here is the main information from, hold on, let me do this so it's bigger. So how will you achieve this Dell Educator certification? So the way to achieve this is by showing that you have a growth mindset, okay, which is going to be like just showing that you're excited for learning. The fact you're here shows that you're already excited and interested in learning something new, which is great. So some of the things that we'll run into, and this is going to be a unique cohort because we're working through the summer instead of during a time when you actually have students or have teachers right next to you to work with. So, we'll be looking at some challenges and probably facing some obstacles and things, but just that determination to continue your growth and being inspired by other people's successes, whether they're yours or your other group mates here. Or teachers in general, right? Like that dolphin teacher clearly had great success. And so, can you draw some inspiration from that? But the last piece of this is also being able to collaborate around the development and implementation of technology-rich lessons, which it sounds like all of you are interested in doing or are already doing to some extent. So that's part of what we're going to do, is we're going to work together to develop some lessons or some plans for you this summer that are going to help show that you're working towards getting that student-centered learning achieved for your group. So this badge, just so that you know, the badge that you earn comes at the end of the program based on the evidence that you show throughout this time that we have together. And I'm going to show you that plan again to remind you how the sequence works. But at the end, Dell Technologies will actually, if you succeed, you get awarded this badge, which is their certified educator badge. And it's similar to like the Google Level 1 educator, Google Level 2. It's a special badge only awarded by Dell for people who are showing that they are using technology in a way to help students drive their own learning. And so it is its own powerful thing. You can put it on an email signature. You might want to add it to your resume, but it's another career booster to say, hey, Dell Technologies believes that I am a powerful educator. So that's, just more about that. This is the actual words from the Dell certification website about what they want to see from you. So they want you to model increased comfort with the application of technology in your instructional area. And increased comfort is different for each of you because clearly some of you are highly comfortable with technology and some of you are still working on it, and that's great. But just showing some growth to whatever that next level is for you is what Dell wants to be able to support you with. And that's my job too as your coach. So you'll develop a personal goal for your focus area. That's those different areas that we just talked about, and I'll show you again. And then you'll be collecting and sharing evidence towards achieving that goal to show your growth. So our evidence is going to be a little unique again this summer, because normally when people have students or teachers they can work with, then they can sort of like do a lesson and show a video of you teaching a group or something like that. And we don't have that. So we're going to be a little creative with just showing you how your thinking is progressing and how maybe your planning is progressing to show more and more student-centered growth with technology. Okay, so along with that, just so that you know, this is a personal goal. So what's nice about this Dell program, I think, is it's really about you. I mean, it's not about your students. I mean, they benefit because if you improve, they get to have your improved teaching, but it's a goal about you. Question? No question?
Yeah, so like if I am sitting here, so, and with limited resources, with my computer not working, and so how can one rework it on the mobile?
Will you be able to do it on the, we can figure something out because the different tools, I'm going to show you in a second, some of the ways we're going to log your growth. And as long as you can get to those tools, even if it's from your phone, then you should still be able to sort of show some progress. One of the tools we are going to look at and that we're going to be using is Flipgrid, which Jamila already knows about, but it's recording yourself. So if you have a phone, Flipgrid is made to be used on your phone. So that actually would work just fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you actually are joining at a good time, like I said, because you can't really record a class anyway right now. So, so yes, we should be able to find a way to make it work for you with whatever device you have access to. So, but again, this is going to be about what you want to know and what you want to be able to do, and I'll show you. We'll look at that chart again. But it's not going to be something that you already know or that you can already do. You want it to be something new and something that'll sort of challenge you a little to grow. And then it'll be accomplished. The goal is to have it accomplished by the end of the summer. So your finale is August 5th. So it'll be between now and August 5th. And the good news is it's not measured by student achievement scores. There's no test scores involved. You don't have to show student data. Excuse me, there's nothing related to that to show that you're achieving this. This is really just about you and showing your enhanced thinking. Questions so far?
Like we can show on the Scratch, that is new to me. So yeah.
Oh yeah, well, and keep in mind that Scratch is just an example. Those are all those things I showed you were just little examples of different ways to get people thinking. It doesn't mean you have to use it. and none of those are required for you to use. You can do totally different things for your goal. So, and we'll talk about that more too, you know. So one of the first things we're going to do is we will have, whoop, how did this happen? Oh, it took me to the icon. Anyway, so, but we're going to have a one-on-one coaching session to start things off. You'll meet with me for half an hour, and we can just talk about just your goal and get you all set up so that it's going to work for you. Okay. So the other thing to consider for some of you is if you want this goal to support existing goals. So for some people, this is a helpful thing to add into if you already have like a personal professional growth goal, like if your district requires a certain goal every year or something, and you want to use some of this stuff to go into it, like this as evidence. If you have a school or a district improvement goal, then this is something you might, you know, want to include in that. If but it doesn't have to. So it doesn't have to tie to any of your district or school goals. But if you have certain things, like, you know, you want to work on certain curriculum goals, maybe there's something that you can align this with, you know, and really work on it, have it help you meet that goal as well. So just something to consider. That's one way some people like to do this, is sort of double dip and have it count for Dell and then also count for something else that you need to do as well. Okay, so this is sort of where things get, there's even more information, but this is to help you. So we have, I've created this collaborative planning document, and all it is it's just a big document that has all the information on it you need to go through the program. And then you also can like log your progress there. So you can answer questions, you can type things in there, and then you and I both can see it, and we can sort of keep track of your progress that way. And it gives like a nice log of evidence of what you've been working through this summer, what your goals are, what you're thinking about. Okay. So it is a Google Doc. And let me show you what that looks like. It's going to ask you to make a copy. And there's a bunch of pieces to it. Why is my copy not working? Here we go. So once you get into the collaborative planning document, and I'm hoping you can get into it on your phone or anything, it's just going to show up in the internet. So it should show up on Chrome. But then what you're going to do is you're going to use this as your guide. So it's really meant to help you go through everything. You're going to change the name. It says last name, first name. So you're going to change it to your last name and first name. And then you're going to fill in, you know, what's your name, what's your school and level. This is just so that it's all there. But if you notice on the right, there's also going to be my information. So my email's there. You can email me from there. Anytime we have a coaching session, this is your Zoom link. Flipgrid, which we're going to use, is over here as well. So everything's in one spot. Okay. And if you were today, those of you who are asking about these resources, if you see right here, it says kickoff resources. I put the agenda in there, the slides, everything's there. So you can click through and find things if you need to borrow any of the links or information. All right. So this is set up to just sort of get you thinking about your goals. So you don't have to do this tonight. You don't have to do it right now by any means. This is just to help you start thinking before we meet the first time. And we are going to meet the first time. The way the schedule is set up, it'd be Monday. But you just need to find a half-hour window, or let me know if we need to work around that. And that you'll meet with me, and then you'll have these things filled in. Okay. Things you're interested in, things you're concerned about, and then section 2 is the only other part. And this is all goal stuff. Why, what do you want your students to know? What experiences would your students need to develop these skills? And it's sort of going to walk you through setting your goal so that you have a chosen area of that tip chart to focus on. It gives you a focus area. Okay, and then if you look, and don't worry about all this now, but each section is another date and it's another round of coaching. So this is all put in here so that you don't have to look anywhere else. It's all in one spot. Okay. And then it'll give you the questions, and it goes all the way through all of our rounds. There's 3 rounds, and then we're done. And then you'll hit the celebration down here at the bottom. Okay. So it looks like a lot, it is a lot, but like I said, if you at least schedule your first coaching meeting with me, then we can kind of go through it together and make sure you feel comfortable with the information, and get to the point where you have a goal and you feel ready to explore it in these next weeks ahead. Okay. So the key thing with your planning document is, and I know some of you aren't going to be able to do this tonight, but you click on this link and it'll give you a copy, and then you need to add me as an editor, and we can do that together in our session as well. But it just makes it so that I can see and read your document, and we can comment back and forth together. Oops. Okay. So collaborative planning document, it's a lot, but once you're in there, it'll just kind of guide you through, and you just have to look at the first couple sections to get your goal set down and sort of start getting that organized. Any questions about that? And I said due by Friday, June 18th, that's this Friday, but only because that would give me some time to read it before I see you on Monday.
I'm sorry, I was kind of distracted, but I did hear everything that you were talking about, and yeah, that's fine with me. We just got some bad weather over here, so it's just
okay.
Yeah, had to go outside and grab some things that are flying down the street.
Oh no, okay. Big stormy, like summer storm weather?
Yeah, when I was coming from picking her up, they did say that there is a thunderstorm watch warning.
Okay.
The prompter was so muffled and distorted, you couldn't understand what he was warning us about. So,
oh no.
It was like, okay, I hope it's not anything worse than that.
Right. Oh, okay, good. Well, I'm glad you grabbed your stuff. All right. But yeah, so this slide, just when you get a chance, Jamila, it's just a collaborative planning document. You can click the link and add me as an editor, and that just gets you rolling so that you have the start of things. But again, well, anything that people are like, well, I'm not sure what to do, we can go through it in our first coaching session. So I just want to remind you that this is the whole layout. I don't know if you ever saw this given to you at any point. This is the whole program. So we are here in this blue arrow, right? So you've already completed the kickoff session just about. And then these stars are just, that's when we meet again. So that's just going to be you and me, and it's just 30 minutes. It's nothing is ever as long as this or as stressful as this as far as information. So we just have these 3 coaching sessions, and then in between you're submitting like a Flipgrid video talking about what you're thinking about for your next, how could you use technology to do something with your students or with your teachers, or and so I'll coach you on those evidence pieces too. So it's 3 rounds of evidence and then 3 coachings. And people really tend to enjoy the coaching just because it's just you and me, and you can work on just whatever the goal is that you're focused on, and I'm just there to help you. And that's what we focus on, is getting you to that point to where you're down here at the celebration, which is the smiley face. And that's where you get your Dell certification. So it's 3 evidence rounds with 3 coaching rounds, and then it's complete. So it's June. It starts, Monday with coaching, and then we have July 12th, which is like a big gap with coaching with 4th of July and everything in there. And then July 22nd is our last set of coaching. And then that's pretty much it. So, does anyone have questions just about that cycle, sort of that process?
And can this be done earlier too?
Earlier than what do you mean?
Like you're saying July 22nd, yeah? So if one finishes it before July 20th and all, or is it?
Oh, no, not normally, because I have to coach like we have to do our coaching in different gaps so that you have time to turn in evidence in between.
Okay.
But technically you might submit more evidence ahead, and maybe we'd figure something out if there was something else. But yeah, are you trying to just meet on an earlier day for the 22nd? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking into things because I'm here with my daughter. We have a celebration. Then I'm traveling to come back on the 29th of July. So,
okay.
So think like that. So I wanted,
Okay.
but
So
July 22nd, you're saying is the
last coaching day.
Last coaching day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you and I can talk at your first coaching meeting, like with me, if you want, about your dates as well, and sort of see based on your travel what might work for you, and we can and what can work with my schedule, and then we can work from there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to decide if we want to. All right, this last little reflection piece is just like a wrap-up thing, and it's an activity that can work anytime, in any situation. But it's just asking for these three things, right? Like, one thing I learned this evening or in the session, one thing I wonder is this, and then one thing I want to try. So if you want to pick any one of those, it doesn't have to be all three. Is there anything that you're thinking, ooh, I learned something, or I wonder about something, or there's something I want to try, just out of those elements?
Yeah, I love the 4 icons, and I think that's also great. And then the scratch, I definitely want to try that. Okay. I think that'll build up the interest in the students.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have all students collaborate with like the dolphin story,
Yeah,
using different aspects and all.
So, it's very inspiring to see those students rise to that occasion. Yeah. Anybody else have a learned or wonder or want to try?
One thing I say I learned was the thing with the icons, because that's definitely something I'm going to use as an icebreaker. Let's see. One thing I wonder about is how to actually do something like the dolphin story to get all those collaborative pieces together. I mean, I've done something similar to that with more like the STEM side of the house, but to go on the science portion, and even to go with the literature portion to get maybe an author in or something like that. So it's a lot of wonderings going on there for me.
Yeah.
And then one thing I want to try, I think that's going to be the one thing I actually want to try.
Yeah, is getting everyone on board on something like that.
Yep.
That's great. Well, and I'm here to help. So if that's something you want to start embarking on this summer, I'm happy to help you start coordinating and planning and sort of pulling that together. That's great. So Rosalind also wants to try Jamboard. Jamboard's a really great tool, and trying coding. Yeah, Scratch is just fun. It's just fun to play around. I think it was Scratch that used to, one of them had Elsa from Frozen, and you had to like get her to skate in the right direction.
Hour of Code.
So is it Hour of Code?
Hour of Code.
Is it? Yep. Oh, I'm glad you remembered. Anyway,
so code.org has all of those as well.
I found myself lost in that one day, and I was like,
and the Angry Birds too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Very fun. Well, so this little initial teacher info survey is down here. And I don't know, again, who can click on links anymore right now, but if you can get in here, this is really just a survey to show me like your name. Like, it's just so that I have a spreadsheet with your names on it and your email and your school names and everything, so that I know where everybody is. And then it does also give you a chance to send me the link to your planning document, just in case you didn't share it. Yeah. But you know, this is very quick and very straightforward. So if you can do this, that'd be great. It'll just help me sort of gather your information and keep your data all together. Otherwise, I do have your names and your emails from the registration for Zoom, which is great. And I can work with that. I just want to make sure I get everybody's information. Hold on a second. I don't know
if you actually share that link as well. Is it in the slides?
It's in the slides. This is
okay. So then we can actually click on it at once you go back to the slides as well too, because I do want to do the Jamboard activities.
Okay. Yeah. No. And the slides, I gave you the slides, but I can also. Do you want the link to this? Here, I can also
Yes.
put it in the chat so that it's here for everybody. Here's the survey. And yeah, and the slides link is, it's also in that collaborative document at the top. So it's already there for you too, if you need it. I can email everybody. You guys want, I can email you the slides. I'm just gonna
that would be fine. That will work.
Yeah, so that everyone's got the slides again. And this, I don't know how I skipped this, but this is also in the slides, but again, we're gonna have to work on this. This is all the coaching rounds sign-up sheets. So, and they're also in your collaborative planning document if you're clicking through that. So if you click on round 1, it will give you, for Monday, it gives you a document to sign up to meet with me. So this whole day has been set aside as possible coaching times. And you just pick a half-hour window and just type your name in there. But I could do that even, I could do it right this second. If people want to just tell me a time, I can throw your name in there, or you can just wait and type it in once you know what Monday looks like for you. But each time you sign up for coaching, it just looks like this. So it just gives you a whole bunch of windows and you just type your name in to whichever one you want. And if something doesn't work, then we have to be creative, but hopefully people can find on these coaching days something to slide in for.
Could I give you
yeah, do you want to tell me, since I know you're
on Monday? I have to look at the timing. What's your time and what's my time?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know what your time.
Yeah, because we are 9 hours apart. I'm
okay.
9 hours ahead of you. So right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so like right now it's 5:16 in the morning.
Oof, okay.
So I've been up the whole night doing all these different,
Yeah. Do you want me to put down for something early, like 7 a.m.? Just because that would be your time, like 9. Yeah. Vacation.
No, dedication.
Oh,
dedication. Yeah. Being across the globe and still.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is like, if I'm just I don't want it to be too early or too late for you. Like you're saying 7 a.m. your time. Yeah, no, that's too early for you, so.
But it's not, because it's actually, I'm on Eastern time. So it's 8 o'clock for me, which is still not early to me. So that's
8,
fine.
like 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So which is 5 in the evening for me. So, I mean, you can even do it 9 your time.
9 Central time?
Yeah, 9 Central time.
Is that good for you?
Is that good for you?
Yeah, that's fine. I have this whole day. So.
Okay, so 9 will be 10, 11, 12. 6 in the evening for me.
Oh, good. That's more reasonable.
Okay.
For you, I mean. Okay. I put you on at 9, and then we can see if something happens over the weekend or whatever. You can email me. We can adjust. But 9 a.m. my time, which is 6 p.m. your time. Got it.
Yeah. So like Central time is 9 a.m.
Yeah. Yep. That's great. That's fine. Anybody else want to slot just while I have this document open? Jamila, do you want anything, or Rosalind?
I'm gonna actually check my calendar and everything, and I'll just go ahead and put it in there for you.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Again, it's in the slides, and I'll send them back out. But and Rosalind, if you're around and there's a time you want, let me know. Okay. Okay. But anyway, so those are in there, and it's funny, I linked all these documents, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing July 12th. I mean, I know it's gonna it's a little bit ahead. So but some people like to know. So I don't want to overwhelm you guys with this. Jamila, I know you know Flipgrid already. But I just wanted to point out that we have a Flipgrid group now for this group. So, and there's a link to it in here, and I'll send out the information in a different way, but we'll practice that and make sure people can get in on during the first coaching. So that we're going to use it because normally we have recordings of classes and lessons and sample evidence that way, but this time we don't have that. So we're just going to have people do Flipgrid reflections and sort of get on and talk about your thinking of your planning, or, you know, walk through what you're thinking about using with your, you know, with your mega lesson that you're working on. And sort of whatever it is. And so you'll have that chance to sort of do a video reflection instead of having to, because you can't really record like a session with your people. So anyway, but that's what, so Flipgrid we will use. And Usma, I think it'll come in handy for you because you can use Flipgrid on your phone. There's an app for it.
Okay. And I'm also filling up the document you just saw. So that says link your planning document. Make sure you have shared your document with me as an editor. So what do I, and they said your answer. So what do I do? My email address?
For linking, you're gonna do, let me get to mine. So yours
you're
looks
gonna
like,
copy the link. You should have a section up there where it shows you what the actual URL code is. That's what you'll need to copy and drop into that form.
Oh,
so like
and
the
where do I
website
get
for
that?
where that
Because
form is.
at the top of your, like up here where my, I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if they're showing you on my screen, but up here, this part up here, if you can.
Oh, sorry, I'm on that document. I'm filling up the.
At the top of your browser, where like the www normally is, the URL.
Okay, so the one which you sent me, which one is the HTTP document? Google that one?
Yep.
Yes.
That should be the link to your document. Yep. If you can copy that and paste it in, then it can work.
I'm not able to copy. 1 second. On my phone.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult on the phone.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna be a challenge. We can, and Usma, we can figure it out so that you can, next time when I talk to you next, maybe if we're together, I can just kind of work with you and we can see what we can do to get my share.
I was gonna say, if she clicks on the share button at the top of her form and she just puts in your email address, it will still share the form back with you.
It should, yeah.
Yeah, it's got your email address. I hope I haven't lost what I filled in. I just filled in everything now. I don't know where it's gone.
That's okay.
So,
it's probably still there. It usually auto saves. Yes. So it'll save without you doing anything to it. But there's a blue button at the top right corner that just says share, like mine up here with if you click that share button, you can add my email address right at the top.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so because right now I just clicked onto the document you sent me and I started filling it up. So
that's fine.
But I will go to the share later and
that's
fill
fine.
that up too.
Yep. That'll work. Yep, just add me up there. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you're on the right track. So that's good. Okay, well, great. We're basically done here. I do have just the reminder of, complete your section 1 and 2 on that document before you meet with me so that I can go through it together with you, make sure you got a goal and we can make sure you have a plan moving forward together. And that's really the main thing there. The last piece of this is there is a survey, but I will probably I'll email it to you guys. I'll email you the link. This is like the survey for my company, just to say, hey, what did you enjoy? What did you learn something in the session and how did we do? So this is more business stuff than it is anything else. Okay, oops. So any last thoughts before I let you guys loose a little bit early, just a couple minutes here?
Enjoyed it a lot. And I really